Hey all, and welcome back. So before I forget, I really wanted to get out these messages because it feels like I stumble upon information because I'm trying to clear energies in the military portals or wherever the heck I am, whatever these portals are. And then I find information and then I'm like forgetting it, like they clear the record or they clear it once I figure it out. So there's a lot of that that's going on. And I think that that's something that's very common over in countries like Russia, where it's almost like real news is kind of like erased in some way, or what really has happened is erased. And in some way, that is like a battle that we are in as well, okay, in the United States and anywhere else that is being infiltrated by this type of a regime and warfare. I want to just talk briefly about the military portals, which I hope by now a lot of us know is directly connected to Havana syndrome, okay? So Havana syndrome, I've mentioned before, I believe that it is the use of military patents, okay, connected to Air Force and the Navy. And because of the infiltration into our country due to the 2016 election and the coalition between Sergei Lavrov and Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and Sergei Kislyak, whoever else was involved, Oleg Deripaska, all of the Russian oligarchs, I believe that a lot of that intel was compromised. There was a lot of FBI arrests that were in connection to military intelligence being sold to China, okay? There was a lot of these things, and when I went back to look for these stories a year later or two later, I had a hard time finding them again, okay? I did encounter that. And so I don't know if it was just me and it was the search term and I just kind of missed it, but I feel like there were certain stories that I had seen, and when I went back, I was not able to find those stories again. So as far as the military portals go, military portals would be a form of communication between, I guess, high levels of intelligence, okay, connected to that's the CIA, which is the central intelligence, and then they're the hub of other intelligence networks, okay? And I don't know who's managing the military portals, but I've had quite a bit of concern that as well has been infiltrated to some degree. So that's basically the communications. So if they're communicating through military patents, which are essentially neuro patents, these are essentially invisible technologies. So the invisible technologies then are connected to, your ear, so you can hear, you can listen in. It's almost like you're calling into somebody. And it also would tie possibly as we advanced with other science as a result of the infiltration into our science docs. And a lot of the other intel that was compromised connects back into the DNA, and I feel was part of the beta lab testing and the, I guess, basis for Elon Musk's Neuralink and Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, okay? So these are the big players, and the military patents, I believe, were used for these technologies that they have profited off of in the billions. And I believe there was also a coordination between Bill Gates creating some type of a firewall system that would go outside of our military system that would supersede our own military protections, Homeland Security, in coordination with Jeffrey Epstein. And I believe that was a meeting that took place around, I want to say 2019. So, in terms of the infiltration into the actual military portals, I was clearing the energies around what happened, and it took me to intel that I had received around, I want to say it was 2018 into maybe 2019, okay? So I'm not 100% sure what year it was, but it feels like it was pretty early on into my channel, which would mean it was around 2018 possibly. And that was a very real interactive dream experience, which now, knowing what I know, could have been a form of intel coming in through a high-level intelligence person. And because of the state of our country, this was intelligence that I was becoming privy to as a result of, I guess, essentially me moving up the ranks within Intel, and because of the state of the FBI at this point in the game, okay? And this is also, 2018 was the same year that Andrew McCabe was fired from the FBI as the director of the FBI. I don't know if he was acting director or if he was director. I was just looking all this stuff up today, but I think he was moved into director in 2016. He was deputy director in 2016. So I don't know if he was like acting director at this point. So anyway, so he was the highest, I guess, rank of the FBI at that time. So if he was the highest director and then essentially was fired, that's essentially when I was getting the messages that we no longer had a working FBI, which I think became pretty clear with everything that happened in terms of us slowly just watching everything kind of fall to pieces. Robert Mueller started moving a lot of his investigation over into Manhattan, and I know the DAs became very important in the role of carrying out those investigations and indictments. In terms of the dream that I had, that I believe was a form of intel, I was underground in a tunnel system near a border somewhere. Now, when I check in energetically with where the border was, it does feel like it is, because we don't have many borders, so it's Mexico. Okay, so I'm like thinking like we don't have any other borders other than Canada and Mexico. So it was Mexico. So I was underground in a tunnel system. It was very reminiscent of what felt like a prison camp, very similar to very Nazi Germany-esque. It was bare bone. It was dirt floors. It had cells that were metal. Okay, they were gated in cells, very bare bone. I don't even know if there was benches in each of these cells. And I saw women and daughters coming in to this specific tunnel and prison camp or prison cells underground. And it was kind of like you could hear the clanging of them. I believe they might have had handcuffs on. I'm not really sure. Or they're just being thrown in. And it felt like it was kind of like a warning, so to speak, of what was to come for our country in some way. It felt like it was a very dark, bad situation that was going on. I remember walking down in the dream state past all of the different prison cells and looking in each of them, and I walked all the way to the end and was in a certain area. It almost felt like it was like a rounded out area with like a stairway not a stairway, like one step down, almost like a sunken living room or something energy, but it was all dirt and there was no furniture. It was all bare bone. And I walked down and I looked up, and staring at me was the Russian oligarch Sergei Lavrov with a Nazi pistol, okay, in his hand, a very tiny pistol gun, extremely, like, very Nazi Germany, like, pointy, tiny, sharp. And he pointed at me and he shot me in, I want to say, the right knee or something like that. He shot me. And there were other people around him, but he was like gunning for me. I mean, he had eyes on me, okay? And I remember just waking up from that dream and thinking, we're turning into Nazi Germany. That's what's going on right now. I felt like I could possibly have been put in danger in some way, that this specific oligarch might have known who I was personally, since he shot me in the dream and physically injured me. But as I was clearing these energies this morning, I started to realize that that was the infiltration into ICE. And that's when everyone was starting to talk about the prison cells at the border. I just didn't realize that I was in the prison cells underneath, okay, in a tunnel system, because the cameras were showing you a different version where they had people in like a room, like it was a bunch of people in a room, and the men and the women were separated out. So I encountered a completely different system in the tunnels next to this border, okay? And it was being run with a Russian oligarch at this prison camp, which was Sergei Lavrov. So this is the infiltration into ICE. I think at this point in time, this was hitting every newspaper, and we had an awareness that ICE was being infiltrated by Donald Trump and his regime. And I feel like it was pretty common knowledge for people who were keeping up with the real news. Okay, I feel like we had an idea that ICE was getting infiltrated in some way when we were seeing children and people and men in these prison cells at the border. And we knew that it was complete chaos. There was a lot of film crews, reporters saying stuff was seriously wrong at the border, that they were caging people. And these were very normal, like, news reports that were going on at that time. And we knew our country was in a state of peril for those of us who really knew what was going on. And now I'm realizing in hindsight that dream was essentially also telling me that's when they broke into, I believe, the military portals, okay? So I believe that was the first instant that they had broken into the military portals was through ICE, Homeland Security. So they were actively infiltrating ICE with possibly a lot of chaos, with the trafficking, with whatever the heck they were doing. Perhaps they were getting to know officers and guards. And then they started doing, probably, I'm hearing, the monarch mind control on them. So I'm a victim of this regime, so I know how they go after their victims. I also know how many teams they have to go after us. So I have upwards of 30 different cover-up teams, and they grow over like days, and months. My teams have grown. I might have started out with maybe a few people that knew who I was, and then it would grow. It would grow to bigger teams, and then the teams would grow again and again, eventually into like I said, year 3, where I am now I have upwards of 82 systems on my head. So the teams that are assigned to you, I believe, are through either military contracts or some type of contracts. And I believe that they were able to essentially move us through these contracts through the banks. And I believe that a lot of that intel or reporting was coming through with the Mueller investigation, when I want to say it was Robert Mueller, and it could have been the Mueller report, where they said that Donald Trump was talking to the Russians through a bank server. And the bank server was through Alpha Bank, which is a Russian bank. And so I don't know if in the Mueller report they talked about the extensive interactions through the bank servers, but the bank servers, I believe, could have been hooked up through Bill Gates' system or any type of telecommunication system through the military patents. I don't know if they... I mean, from when I see the communications in here, it's a lot of wires. It's like hundreds of wires. It's like lots of wiring systems. A lot of times I have kind of seen systems, even going back to the old-fashioned switchboard systems in Manhattan, you know, where you would call the operator and you would see them, you know, a lot of times they'll even show it in a lot of TV shows or renditions of that time period that take place in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, where they have the switchboard operators or whatever, and they're moving the wires in and out, kind of a thing. Anyways, that's what it reminds me of. I mean, I've literally seen an old-fashioned switchboard in Manhattan where they are pulling these things going in and out, okay? I have seen these kinds of things. I've gotten a lot of references to Bell, okay? Like Bell Atlantic, okay, the old-fashioned phone systems. I got a lot of references to the Beastie Boys songs, you know, in the album Ill Communication. And one of the songs, I don't know if it is Ill Communication, but he's like, my bell, I got the ill communication. My bell, I got the ill communication. My bell, word 'em up, word 'em up. That I was getting references that could have even been connected to these, you know, portals, okay? I don't know. It could be connected to elite portals, sex portals. I don't really know. But I have gotten a lot of references to those specific lyrics and the Beastie Boys and these systems, also connected back to Wall Street, okay? And the stock market and the banks and how they're moving monies and perhaps trafficking people, okay? Or maybe it moved into trafficking at this point or at this stage, okay? So this is around, like I said, around 2018 through 2019. So I believe that is when they essentially infiltrated the military portals through ICE. I think ICE might have been part of that infiltration. And that's what came in this morning. By now, they've already cleared that Akashic record out. And that's the danger of having people like them in our intel. And this is why when commands are coming in to remove him immediately from the White House and they're not being honored, it feels like we're in a really scary place in our country. And I think we know that, okay? And I know that there are people who are trying to do everything they can, but we are up against a very, I don't want to call them powerful because I don't consider them powerful. I actually consider them very weak. But the illusion of them that they send out to other people is that they are more powerful. And that is why I was so guided to start talking about my attacks on my channel to help liberate other people and to try and help to, in some way, I don't want to say like normalize it, but in some way giving people a place or a platform to talk about it in a fashion where they would not be called crazy anymore, and to provide them with the intel or the technologies or the patents or the information that they were missing that I was constantly seeking out because of what I was already personally going through. But back to the infiltration into the military portals, that's 2018. When I think about the second attack of Havana syndrome, it was 2018. Okay, that was the next round. So 2016 was the first one that happened in Havana. Okay, and that happened at the U.S. Embassy. Okay, on, I believe, high-level officers, intelligence officers, and I don't know, people who are working, representing our country. I'm not really sure all of the people involved, but it was a lot of people. And a lot of them mentioned a loud noise that was very ear-piercing. And that was a big part of it. And then having these other symptoms where they were no longer really functioning the same way. I'm not sure if the first attacks talked about hearing voices or anything like that. I don't know how advanced Havana syndrome was at that first go ahead, but by 2018, perhaps that was the next tier, and they had developed it enough to get it more turned into a weapon system at this point, and they were able to bring in more of the military patents and start coordinating more of the torture or the harassment aspects of the device. By the time my attack happened to me and something hooked up to me physically and biologically, where I was going under neuroweapons, that was, for me, was around 2021 into 2022. And so I know the stages of the system at that point in time, and it was nowhere near where it is now. So they have progressively worked on this around the clock, and they have large teams and large networks, and part of their warfare was to get this weapon system into global trafficking networks to essentially buy, sell, and murder us, okay? And that was tied to the hedge funds in the banks and Manhattan and part of the elitists. I can tell you one thing about this, is that I've had so many interactions with people on the dark side of this system. And a big part of their warfare is to try to seduce you and to lure you into getting on their team, okay? That's a big part of what they're working on you around the clock, is to trick you, seduce you, and move you on their side, okay? And they want the most powerful people on their side, because you essentially then become a weapon, or you get closer to them and then they can infiltrate you physically, in person. They can get you into situations where you probably wouldn't be able to get out. So the one thing that I know about them is that no matter how much they sugarcoat things and make it seem like going to their side is the way to go and it's how everybody's going, because they kind of try to make you feel like everybody's doing it, like it's the cool thing to be who they are. They try to sell it and glamorize their Satanism. And I can tell you straight up, it doesn't matter if you're on their side or not. You are a victim of them, okay? If you are sought out by them, whether you go to their side or you do not, you are still a victim, okay? Because you can see a lot of the demise of many celebrities who I believe did get closer to them and did follow suit and do what they were supposed to. And you can see a lot of them have kind of just started to deteriorate physically, mentally. You can see that you don't win with whoever these are, because I believe these are killers, okay? I believe that these people are out for blood. I believe they are sacrificing people regularly through the system, through satanic rituals. That's who I believe these people to be. I believe that the people who are really running this show that we have witnessed on U.S. soil, I believe them to be serial killers. Like, I believe them to be the darkest dark. And they do not want anyone to think that. They want to think that they are the opposite. And that they have deleted that Akashic record. I have to work on getting that record back up, because people will believe a different narrative, okay? They will believe, oh, they're going to no, that's not who they are today. That's just who they were yesterday. And today's a new day, you know? Because we're in Bill Barr's land. And in our land, it doesn't matter, because you get a new day the next day. No, that's not the case, okay? This group is not right, okay? And there are people that have gone to the other side, and they have come in crying. They have come in regretting their choices, deeply regretting it, deeply regretting going on the other side. I've seen people sacrificed. I've seen people shot. I've seen children shot in the portals. I've seen many people who believed that these people had their backs and they shoot them dead, okay? These people are deadly. They do not care. They are soulless. So no matter what they glamorize them to be, it's all a freaking act, okay? All of it is a freaking act. There is no winning with them. You will not win with them, okay? It will appear that you are winning possibly from the outside based on who paid off the media to get you a red carpet event or got you a movie, okay? It'll appear as if you are winning, but I am telling you that behind the scenes, no, that's not the case, okay? People are not free and they are prisoners. And so the only way to truly win against this regime is to get information out about it and to share the truths so that people don't fall for them, so that people don't get duped, so people don't fall victim like we watched pretty much all the Republican Party. Many of the Republicans, like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, had interviews about how much they did not agree with Donald Trump, that they did not agree with his views. There was a lot of Republicans that were not on board with him. And within a year of whatever happened and transpired, you have seen them come out like completely different people. Okay? And I believe I have had interactions with many of the GOP through this system, through these portals. They're called they're right-wing portals. And all of these portals are right-wing because there's nobody in here. There's no left-wing. There's no Democrats in these freaking things, okay? There is not. I mean, they're hard to come by if you're looking for them, okay? I mean, these are typically, most of these people are right-wing Republican, okay? And they're crime networks. They're crime. And prior to Havana syndrome, it might have been completely different, okay? But I'm telling you, after the attacks on these portals, after the infiltration into CIA, after everything that has transpired, no, these are deadly portals. I would tell every person, oh my gosh, the lights went off. Oh my God. I would tell everybody in here, if you somehow end up and land in this land, wherever this like hellhole is that I'm in, I would make sure you never ever sleep with anybody in these portals, because there is a Russian right behind them and coders and programmers basically trying to get your biology as whatever you're doing is happening, okay? Like, monarch mind control is what they're doing, okay? And it is connected to sex slaves, and it is connected directly to the sex portals. So that's how they're infiltrating celebrities. That's how they're infiltrating people in these places. That's how they're getting in, is through those interactions. And the game, I don't know. I don't believe that these are safe portals that you would ever want to be in. And you can just as easily just call somebody and go to their fucking house if you really wanted to be with somebody. I mean, like, to me, it just feels very elementary. And half of the people and half the men in here are just cheating on their wives. So I don't really know what the point of any of it is. This is all a form of warfare that they're going to use and weaponize against them anyways. All of it's being watched, and it's all being used as compromat. So I don't know why people would even engage in these portals and systems and believe that they're a certain status or that they're above anything in any way. So, back to the infiltration. When I was clearing the energies today on these certain systems, I saw directly tied to the FBI, I saw Rod Rosenstein in a system. I saw his system directly tied to Kash Patel's system. When I cleared Kash Patel's system, I saw Kash Patel's system connected to Christopher Wray's system. When I was clearing Christopher Wray's system, who did I see connected to Christopher Wray? I think it might have went back into Bill Barr. It's really interesting because it's a loop system, how they have it set up, okay? And then Bill Barr has a direct intel into the military portals, okay? So he's directly linked into the military portals. He somehow gave himself a rank that he is not. He broke into the military portals, and I can't figure out how. I think he got in through the Pentagon. He might have gone in through a general or through somebody else. I saw him shoot a man I believe in the Pentagon, deep down underground in like one of the lower tiers where there was an alien in this tier. So I don't know. And it looked like it was like dirt floors in this tier. So he shot somebody who, approached him in what appeared to be a military uniform about what was going on. But I don't think he was prepared for Bill Barr to just shoot him dead, but that's who they are. So I feel that he was very pertinent or pinnacle at this time because it was right before the 2024 election. Now, I posted a lot of videos on Patreon during that time rather than the channel, just due to the amount of attacks I was going under. I had an interaction with I believe, Joe Biden. His energy came into my energy. He said to somebody next to me within the V2K headset, she's the president of the United States. And they disconnected his intel. He fell off the intel, and I got hit within seconds with an energy weapon by whatever the enemy was that I guess received that information. He'd almost felt like a prison guard, and he hit me with an energy weapon. I got super sick right after that. I believe I came on my channel and did like a short video about that, saying they just told me I'm the president of the United States. And then I kind of went into the first time they told me that. And it was like shortly thereafter, I mean, we started witnessing things just getting really rough, really dark. We witnessed a lot of chaos going on right before the election, which is very typical of Donald Trump and his terrorist regime, is to create chaos. So people can't keep up with what's really going on. That's a form of warfare, distracting everyone. And it was like around that time that I knew that Kamala was not going to win, okay? I had seen she had no backing behind her at all. It was almost like she was cardboard. I mean, I don't know, if I were to check in with her energy, there was nothing behind her. I mean, it was just nothing. So it was a complete front operation. That's what I would call that, was a complete front operation to make it look like she was winning. But there were certain words they used in the media when they said that she had all of the backing of the technology companies and she got all this money. That to me was, oh, she's not the person. That's a red. I know the techies and they're not backing Kamala. Okay. That's not happening. I already know who they are because they're part of Havana syndrome, and they all signed on for that because they're part of the NASDAQ. They're part of Wall Street. Okay, and that's the money element to Donald Trump and what was missing. And it's very important to understand who essentially signed on to Havana syndrome, which is not a syndrome. It's a weapon trafficking system connected to cryptocurrency and the DNA crypto miners, cryptology. So much stuff. I can't even. It was around right before the election that I saw Bill Barr kill this person. And I felt like it was probably something that altered a pretty big event that maybe was supposed to happen in some way that would be positive for the country. Because when I was reading on the 2024 election, I didn't see any of them in the presidency. I saw a younger person. I feel like I saw myself. I mean, to be honest, I think I saw myself in there in the reading when I read on it, but I didn't say that on the channel. But I saw somebody else. I might not have understood at that time my rank and who I was because they didn't tell me yet. I knew that I had to present myself in a different way. I knew I had a lot of instructions coming along with a lot of people in terms of who I was. But I also, at the same time, was being told that I was being trafficked and owned by a Russian dictator. And I was also in military portals, fighting on the front lines. Okay. So I had a lot of different things going on. I was being dissected by not just one techie, not just two techies, but many techies. Okay. And I had a lot of stuff that was happening to me that I was vocal about and tried to speak to on both Patreon and on the channel. I think that something happened in the Pentagon that infiltrated us and put us in an even worse situation that compromised us even more. And obviously, we watched what happened with the election, and I didn't even vote, okay, because I already knew what was going on. And that's not like me at all, but I already knew because he had asked me to be his VP, okay, over the summer. So I already knew that it was already pre-planned and what was going on. It's just a matter of, I would never go near them, and I'm not on board with their agendas, and I'm not going near this crew because I know who they are, I know how they operate, and they're very sick. So I stand over here in my little corner right now, and I hope to hopefully inspire other people to do the same. That's all I can really do right now, and hope for a freaking miracle. So I guess I will leave you guys there. Sending you guys so much love and blessings. I have the leadership card coming in around that, standing in your leadership role, standing in your power, standing in your truth. That is the biggest, that's the highest vibration of energy, is authenticity. Being authentic. See, if you go to Donald Trump's vibration, you can see it's a very low vibration. He doesn't operate at a high vibration. He can't operate at a high vibration. It's a low vibration. He doesn't go past a certain level because he's not authentic. In the spiritual planes, I would be doing circles and dancing around him energetically because he can't get to my vibration because he's not able to get there. Only through, obviously, DNA manipulation. But that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, I will leave you guys there. I'm sending you guys lots of love and blessings, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.